Mishnah continues for Yud Gimel Tevet, Erev Shabbat Vayechi. Yesterday we started the 17th chapter of Shabbat, all about Muksa, and now we are on the second Mishnah in Perek Yud Zayin. Notel Odom Kornas. A person can take a kornas, is like a big old hammer, sledgehammer, lefatsebo et gozim, to crack open nuts. Now what's going on here is this is a kli. A hammer is usually used for a forbidden purpose, like bonet or soter, like a melacha. But you can take it, pick it up, and use it for a permitted purpose, like cracking nuts. And the Gemara explains, and we talked about in Smichat Chaver with Rabbi Sober, we're talking about the laws of muksa, is that these kelim that are typically melachto le'isr, typically you use them for an asr purpose, a melacha. You can use them not only for a mutter purpose, but you can also pick them up when you need the place, the tzorach makomo. So if you had a big hammer on your table and you didn't have any nuts to crack, and you needed the table for your Shabbat Suda, you could still pick up the big hammer and move it. And of course, you could pick it up and crack your nuts with it and then put it back anywhere you like. Now the Mishnah brings more examples. Kordum in Acts, lachtoka the devela, to cut your fig cake. Remember we talked about in Zerayim, they would dry their figs and squish them into cakes. Those could be pretty hard and thick, so you can use an axe to cut up your fig cake. Magera, a saw, ligror ba gavina, to cut your cheese wheel. Magreifa, a scooper, ligrof bo et grogrot, to scoop out the figs from their bin. Vet rahat, a rahat is a winnowing shovel used for the act of winnowing, which is typically a melacha. Vet a mazleg, and here it's a fork, meaning a pitchfork. Latetalov lekotan, to give something to a cotton, like to give food. Now the Kahati here explains what might be going on, is that it could be this cotton is a Kohen, and they're trying to give him truma without making the truma tameya, as we discussed in Trumot. So the person with the pitchfork is using it to scoop up truma without, and being careful not to touch it, to give to the cotton. Or it could be the cotton is stuck on the other side of the creek, and they can't pass him the food, and he needs something to eat. So they're using this long pitchfork to pass him something to eat. Mishnah continues, et a kush, vet a kirkar, the spindle or the shuttle. These are parts of the loom of the weaving apparatus. Lachtov bo, to like spear your food with so you don't get your hands dirty. Machat shel yad, a hand's needle. Litol bo et a coats. You could use it to remove a splinter, even though it's normally used for sewing garments, for tefira, which is a melacha. Shel sakain, a larger needle that was used by sack makers to make sackcloth. Liftach bo et a delet, could be used to pick the lock for someone who lost their key. Great. On to Mishnah Gimel. Kone shel zaitim, a reed for olives. Now what's going on here is this was a long reed they would use to stir their vat, their ma'atan of zaitim. When you harvest your zaitim, you'd stick them all in a vat, and they kind of get squishy and warm, and then they're easier to press into oil. So you use this reed to check the oil, kind of like old cars. You used to have the little metal thing that went into the oil compartment, and you check the oil. The modern cars all have sensors, and so Baruch Hashem, the olive vat was a little old-fashioned, so you had to stick the reed in and see if there's oil oozing out already at the bottom, which means they're ready to press, and to stir it and get the olives moved around and ready for pressing. So the Mishnah explains, Im yesh kesher baroshu, if it has a knot in the end, and you can see that bamboo and similar reeds, they have these knots, these like lines and that kind of stick out. So if that's solid and it kind of makes a receptacle in the reed, mikabel tuma. So that's a receptacle that you could stick olives or oil with this reed. So in a couple of years, we'll get to Masechet Kalim, and we'll learn that flat wooden kalim that don't hold anything are not mikabel tuma. They do not accept ritual impurity. And this reed, it's not really made to hold anything if it does not have this knot that closes off one of the sections. So Mishnah says, Im lov ein mikabel tuma. If it does not have this like divider, this knot, it is not mikabel tuma. It's just a straight shot through, like a straight pipe. It doesn't hold anything. Since it doesn't hold anything, it's not a clay kibble, and it's not mikabel tuma. But the Mishnah concludes, bein kach u bein kach nital b'Shabbat. In either event, you can handle it on Shabbat. It's not muksa. Bartner says the haklihu. It's a kli, whether or not it has the divider, the pocket in it, that it's can hold something. It's still a kli, asui lefoch et zaitim, because it's made to stir your olives. And if you had a vat of olives, you want to stir them up on Shabbos so you can get the ripe olives on top and eat them for Shabbos, that would be completely allowed with this kli.